You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Weekly Business Hour, and I am Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Thank you for joining us today. I think we've got a wonderful show lined up for you. But before we get started, I want to take care of a little business. First of all, and most importantly, I want to thank our show sponsor, Pearson & Pearson CPA. Pearson & Pearson's a CPA firm that's located right here in downtown Conroe, and their mission is to help their clients maintain financial viability in the present day while taking a proactive approach to achieving future goals. I encourage you, if you're thinking about changing or don't have a CPA firm, to talk to the people at Pearson & Pearson. I've worked with them, they know what they're doing, and they're wonderful folks to do business with. Today's show, we'll start with the thought for the week entitled Read, Read, Read. Our special guest, I'm pleased to announce, is Lisa McElroy, owner of Alegre HR. Also joining us on the show today will be Dick, the general manager of Lone Star Community Radio, to update us on the business here, right here at Lone Star. And in our Ideas You Can Use segment today, I will offer you some ideas on how to make your LinkedIn page more effective, and I will talk about what real success is. I will close today's show with the Silver Fox tip of the week entitled What Drives Your Employees. So I encourage you, sit back, grab your pad and pencil or your computer, and get ready to take notes as we talk about business right here on the Weekly Business Hour. And one more reminder, if you're listening to the show, you have a question, you have a thought, or if you have a question about your business, just a business question, please email them to me. My email address here at the station is rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. And don't forget, if you have a question about your business, again, I encourage you, I don't mind answering those questions. It's what I do for a living as a Silver Fox advisor. Well, let's get started. Thought for the week, read, read, read. Does that sound kind of strange? Well, you know, one of the things that I was taught, believe it or not, in college, in a class we taught, which was kind of a generalization of the business that we were going to be doing once we left school, was the importance of reading. And I'm not just talking about the daily newspaper or even the Wall Street Journal, which is a good resource, and I personally read it every day, of business ideas and business news, but to read business books. Read books to improve yourself, and read magazines. There's lots of great magazines. The Small Business Side, Inc. magazine, and some others have wonderful articles about people. Read other people's success and also their failures and how they dealt with the challenges of running a small business. But I think read, read, read is very important, because if you don't do that on a regular basis, let's face it, we're all busy every day, lots of things going on, but set aside some time on a weekly basis, even a daily basis, and sit down and spend 15, 20 minutes and read, and try to read material that helps you help yourself and your business. So don't forget, read, read, read. Always opportunities here for us to improve our business, and I think that's very important, and reading will help you do that. Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County comes to do business throughout the world. We have listeners not just here in the Conroe area, but also around the world. We look to share with you ideas to improve your business and to hear, most importantly, for some of our own local business leaders on how they have found success right here in Montgomery County. And reminder, we're on Facebook, and that's very important to the show. If you haven't already liked us on Facebook, please do so. The Weekly Business Hour page is there. Like it, and I encourage you to set up an alert, because that way when we post the show each week in the podcast, you'll be alerted that a new show is available. You can check out the content of the show and hopefully listen to the show. Well, now's the time we need to check in with Dick. Dick, what's going on with the business right here at Lone Star Community Radio?
Rick, I want to let your listeners know we have a couple things adding and changing at the same time. Our Sunday evening jazz with CC Holmes is going to be on Saturdays now. So it's going to be called Jazzy Vibes. So it's going to be on Saturdays and Sundays from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. live in the studio on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. And I also want to remind folks your Monday night DJ, Meredith, also has her own talk show with her friend Elizabeth on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. with Grit and Grace. Just want to remind folks, check that show out. I think they're on their 5th episode this week, so I want to encourage folks to check them out too.
Well, as always in this business here, and I think every business should have something going on, some excitement, maybe not the kind of excitement you think about, but to have new things happening. It keeps people engaged in the business. It keeps the clients, the customers coming. So Lone Star Community Radio, it's in business. There's no doubt about it. Well, now we come, as I like to say, to my favorite part of the show, and that's where I introduce our local business guest. As I mentioned earlier, Lisa McElroy, the owner of Alegre HR, is with us today, and she's going to talk a lot about HR. And I think that's a subject, quite frankly, Lisa, that many small businesses pay little, if any, attention to. Oh, by the way, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, to get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, your business background, and what brought you to be part of Alegre HR.
Yeah. Well, I have worked for a long time and had always wanted to own my own business. I began working when I was 14, worked at the Tulsa Tribune. I was a copy girl and worked my way through college. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, and that doesn't make me the smartest person in my family. That was just the direction I took and the goal I achieved. Came to Houston, was so happy to be here. I love this area, the people, the businesses, and got into the oil and gas side of things. At that point in time, the energy market was deregulating, and I ended up in a unique position where the company I worked for, unfortunately for them, they filed bankruptcy. But good for me, I was able to pick up some of their clients and help them, and ended up with a company that was there in the middle of things as the California market was deregulating. For the long term, the Public Utilities Commission delayed that, and that was sort of the end of that company in its infancy. But it was a wonderful experience and a life-changing event. And from there on, I decided that's it. I want to be in the business side of things rather than out doing some kind of trading or transmission. So I ended up working with Weatherford and with Neighbors International on the Neighbors is the world's largest drilling company. The international division, we had about 10,000 full-time employees, and we didn't have enough HR staff. So I was kind of the one that was tasked with fix it, and that was an interesting first year. I had certainly been warned that the HR department there might be a revolving door for me in a managerial role because it had been a revolving door for others. And I said, well, I'm going to do it anyway. All I can do is decide that I made a mistake and go from there. So it was wonderful. Again, another great experience. It was hard work. We did hire finally a global VP of HR, and he was my boss. And we did wonderful things. Our number one achievement was really taking the business and attaching some return on investment requirements to the HR activity and documenting for the company that we were making them money. And I think for a small business, that's a gap that just has not been addressed so far in the consulting world, at least the ones that I've seen. So what we want to do as a business is really help a company certainly save money, run HR in an efficient manner, but mainly make money and continue to push the envelope forward so that that company knows that it has the best management structure, is the best of the best as far as practices go.
Well, that's an interesting point you make, and I agree with you 1,000% if that's possible, that HR and small businesses almost like oil and water, to use a simple example. Because in small business, particularly as we're getting started, but even as we get up and running and have 10, 20, 50, 100 employees, at some point in there it changes, but HR is just an aggravation or whatever. It's not even thought about, and I think it's really critical that they have some support, some consistent support. So that's the kind of support you really provide.
It is. The name of our company, Alegre HR Advisors. Alegre is actually a Spanish word for joyous, and we chose it specifically because HR is typically not joyous. It is typically a pain in everyone's side, and there are reasons for that. And so as you go out and you look in the market for programs, products, services that will help a small business, I see phrases that make me concerned. Things like, reduce your HR headaches, lessen your HR overload, simplify your HR. HR is not simple, but if HR is truly tied into a business strategy and it's working to achieve those goals, there's nothing to simplify. There's nothing to certainly reduce. So that's what we aim to achieve.
One of the things interesting about your company is I looked into your website and did some study. You're a virtual company.
We are.
And, that's something that probably most of our listeners, particularly in the area here, don't really understand what a virtual company is. Can you kind of give us a rundown as far as your company being in the virtual world?
Absolutely. I always expected to have a brick and mortar company, but virtual communications and technology has certainly made it possible, and actually virtual companies made up of experts who work separately from one another and separately from either the company that employs them or the company for whom they consult, is one of the future structures that's expected to help companies expand into global markets where that may not be possible to have a brick and mortar office in all the locations that a company has. So we decided we were going to walk the talk, and if we were going to help companies face the future, we were going to stick our necks out and do that ourselves. And the experiences that we've had working with one another, the folks that I work with, I've worked with for a long time at Neighbors, at Weatherford, even at companies prior to that who were my bosses. We've always worked together in such a way that as long as the communication is there, it didn't really matter whether we were traveling to Timbuktu or whatever. Communication's the key.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're up against our first break today, and I hope you'll stay with us because we're going to continue to talk to Lisa about all things HR. So please stay with us, and we'll be right back with you.
Pearson & Pearson is a certified public accounting firm located at 400 North Main, Conroe, Texas. The firm was founded in 1989. Our expertise ranges from basic tax to very complex tax, both federal and state, both individual and business, and not-for-profit organizations. We also provide services such as financial audits, reports, and litigation support. Call us at 936-756-2008. That is 936-756-2008. More information can be found online at pearson-pearson.com.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. We're now in our second segment. We're going to continue that conversation, as I promised, with Lisa McElroy of Alegre HR. Lisa, we went to break. We were talking a little bit about the virtual world and some of the challenges, and you made a good point, I think. It's all about communications and the ability to communicate with not only your clients, customers, but within the firm itself is so critical. What are some of the things you do in your company to enhance communications?
We're not very fond of regular meetings, I have to say, but we are fond of setting some goals and some timelines, and we do make sure that we stay on track to those timelines. If anything's going to keep us off, delay us, we make sure that we manage by those exceptions rather than just repeat what we've done yesterday and today. And so managing by exceptions and making sure that we're hitting the client's goals are 90% of what we discuss.
The idea of communications, and we've talked about it on the show before. In fact, we've had some communications people come in. It's so critical in business, not if you're virtual or if you're brick and mortar. Small businesses, they really are challenged by that. But let's talk about HR. I mean, you're an HR expert. You know a lot about HR because you've worked literally all over the world, so to speak, with HR. HR and small businesses. I use the idea of oil and water. It's a real challenge. Why is it such a challenge for small business?
I think human resources hits on the ego of the business owners, of the executives, And I would say that's been our biggest challenge is confirming and getting the the customers to trust us that we're taking what they've achieved up to this point. We're looking forward. We're using their their business strategy to help them implement an HR strategy that's a continuous loop. We are not there to go back in time and second guess anybody. When you've started a company, it's your baby, and having somebody come in who's going to be the quote HR police, I think is the fear people have.
HR police, I think that's an interesting term. Well, I was sharing with you prior to going on the show today about one of the things, in fact, something I was reading this morning, that when people, small business people, go out and look to hire people, and this could be whether you have 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 50 employees, whatever, small business owners are somewhat afraid, this article said, to hire the best people. They're kind of intimidated, is what it said, because if I hire them, can I pay them? Because the best people cost money. Am I going to be able to manage them? Am I going to be able to keep them here? What do you say back as an HR specialist?
Whether it's a small company, medium, large, biggest challenge management has with managing people is really stepping out of their own way, getting rid of their fear of what's this person going to think of me. If they're an expert in this area, I'm not. I'm the person that's grown this company. I'm the person that's founded this. Just stepping away from that and wanting to basically, if I can use a Texas horse comparison, get the most horsepower. Get the horse that's really going to help you win that race, and let them run. And if they don't have that strategy that tells them this is where we're going, this is where we're going to take the business, this is what we're going to achieve, every 6-month mark, it is scary to try to bring in somebody that you're afraid that you're not going to be able to pay. But get that compensation structure set up, you get those performance targets set up, and then you hire that best person that you can find, and you let them do it.
What's interesting to me about that, and it's been talked about over and over, it's been lectures, seminars, webinars, books, articles, everything. The key to success in business, any business pretty much, as long as they haven't improved AI or robots to a point where they can replace people, is having good people, motivated people. In fact, I'm going to talk about that a little later in the show. Yet, to go hire those people is just a frightening thing, to bring them in and realize that you've got to be committed to hiring the best people in every position, I believe.
Yeah, you do. And we want clients who really want to be the best that they can possibly be. HR isn't simple, and that's because managing people is not simple. A company is an expert in their industry, but when you think about it, it's really not the company that's the expert. It's the people who work for the company. It's those employees who are the experts. The company owns the paperwork that documents whatever those people do and the environment in which they do it. So without a solid plan, I'm going to say it's extremely difficult, and I think it's one of the key reasons that really small businesses in that infancy stage, before they really get some traction, can't progress.
Right, and then in turn they fail. In failure, we always talk about, well, it's the money. They didn't have enough money. They couldn't borrow money, whatever. They didn't think about the capital, and I agree, because I work with a lot of people who are thinking about going into business for themselves. But the idea is that when you go to hire that first person, you may even have to sacrifice. I know business people who have given up all or part of their salary to bring in. I was talking with someone earlier this year, and they actually went out and arranged a bank loan so they could hire a really key, good person to come into their small business. So they have 4 or 5 employees, but they knew to get to the next level, to grow like they wanted to, they had to do that and go out and they, to that point, they'd never borrowed money. They were scared about that, but they had made that commitment.
Right.
Well, let me ask you, outsourcing, okay, we're outsourcing our HR, and just based on what you've talked about today, the various subjects, the things you've touched on, there's no way if I am a small business that I can just do that in-house unless I'm willing to hire someone full-time, which is a burden. Tell us about outsourcing. I mean, you've made the case very subtly today that there's a lot of moving parts in HR.
There are a lot of moving parts, but again, with that strategy, you can identify those moving parts. Companies are typically thought of to have four stages in their business life cycle, and in my opinion, that infancy stage is definitely where not having someone in-house dedicated to HR, not spending that money, because what a business needs at that point in time is to take all that revenue and reinvest it in the company. Hire somebody who can give you exactly what you need, not give you more than what you need, but exactly what you need, and can counsel and guide you to that next stage, which is growth. In my opinion, the growth and the maturity stages of a business life cycle are really where a company needs to own that HR function, just the same way they own that business strategy, the same way they own their operations activity, their financial activity, maybe their health and safety and environmental activity. It's just as HR is the only function that really can change each of those departments for the better, can really impact the performance of each of those departments. And then when you get into the aging aspect of a company, whether it's due to technology, maybe globalization, it could be anything. That's where, by all means, start counting the costs. Outsource everything you can. Throw everything overboard, and try to keep those folks employed. Try to keep that business functional. You don't know what's going to change tomorrow. But to me, the beginning and the end are really when you want to outsource it, and we do that. And we'll certainly help any client who might need to do that, and we definitely have the expertise for it. It just has to make sense for the business strategy.
Well, let me ask you this, and you've made a lot of sense to me today, and in just what you've said in the short period of time we've been on the air, but the idea that somebody's going to outsource, and you've made it, this is one of the most, if not the most important functions in a business and its success. And in order to move forward now, I'm going to accept the idea. I'm going to outsource that, so I lose control. How do you market to people? How do you convince them that, yes, we're a third party, but yet we have that expertise and whatnot? How do you market your business?
Well, in our case, we're a little bit different. Our expertise is looking at big numbers, wide geographic area, different markets, actually. Even though it was one large company, a couple of large companies, we really had to make a specific plan for everywhere we operated. And so what we do for our clients is, help them see that there are numbers, hard, cold numbers that can't be gotten around, that if you're giving away that aspect that runs your business, and there's a great quote by Steve Wynn of Wynn Resorts, and it says, HR isn't what we do, HR is what runs our business. And I mean, that says it. But again, there are times when there are other important events.
Well, I'm convinced of HR, and we've got a few minutes left, a couple minutes. What is the most important thing that you would like to convey to listeners today, particularly the small business listeners, about HR in their business? Because you've made some great points already. What else would you like to convey?
There are many HR consultants in the U.S. and around the world. Hire whomever judiciously. Make sure that they really do have the experience, that they've actually had success in very difficult environments, because your environment's not easy. If it was easy, you wouldn't even be considering it. Make sure they've actually done what they are going to tell you to be doing. That would be my number one advice, would be to be careful with who gives you advice on the future of your business.
What sets your company apart when I go looking?
Yep, we knock it out of the ballpark. Our experience, all of our tenure, my tenure in particular, I think I'm famous for turnaround of HR. I started with a company that HR was seen as the literally pariah, and as we walked through and met with operations, met with all the various functional departments, functional heads, it took us about 2 years. 1 year to really get traction with it, about 2 years to turn it around. And it ended with HR really being seen as, quote, one of us, which was just one of the company, which it always should have been. But it wasn't. HR was sort of easy to throw rocks at, because they had these HR policies. Well, those are not HR policies; those are management policies. So we turned that around.
Well, that's a wonderful story. Well, Lisa, let me thank you for taking the time to join us today and barely scratch the surface of HR. And I'd like you to come back, if you will, perhaps in our expert segment and teach us a little more about HR. Again, one of the most important, if not the most important, functions in a business today. If folks would like to reach out to you and get more information or talk to you about their business, what's the best way they can do that?
Sure. I believe in communication. They can call me. My number is 281-620-0713. And if they'd like to go learn more about our philosophy and how we go about our helping our clients, the website is www.alegre, ALEGREHR.com.
Well, again, thank you, Lisa. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our bottom of the hour break. And when we come back, I'm going to give you a couple ideas that I hope you can use in your business today. So please stay with us and we'll be right back.
Pearson & Pearson is a certified public accounting firm located at 400 North Main, Conroe, Texas. The firm was founded in 1989. Our expertise ranges from basic tax to very complex tax, both federal and state, both individual and business, and not-for-profit organizations. We also provide services such as financial audits, reports, and litigation support. Call us at 936-756-2008. That is 936-756-2008. More information can be found online at pearson-pearson.com.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Well, we're to that part of the show where we talk about expertise and ideas that hopefully you can use in your business today. But before we get started, I want to thank again our show sponsor, Pearson & Pearson CPA. They've been in the Conroe area since 1989, and they have been providing, without a doubt, quality, personalized financial guidance to local individuals and businesses. Again, I encourage you, if you need help, you need a public accounting firm, you need somebody to help with your bookkeeping, then I would encourage you to reach out to Pearson & Pearson. We use them here at the station, and they do a wonderful job. So remember, Pearson & Pearson CPA. Also remember that your company can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. If you'd like to learn more about that, then simply just email me at rick@irlonestar.com. Okay, on to ideas that you hopefully can use in your business today. I've looked up a couple things I want to present to you. One, sort of straightforward, it's LinkedIn. If you and your business are not on LinkedIn, then I would encourage you to do it. It's not very hard, but it's definitely a place where business goes to do business. Particularly, the site is geared to people who are looking for people, looking for new employees, and also people looking for a new job. But it has a lot of business going on there, just general business. And if you'll take the time to get set up on LinkedIn and then from time to time post something, some content about your business, an article about showing your expertise, I really think it's worthwhile. But let me give you a few tips if you're on LinkedIn or not on LinkedIn that I believe you should follow that will help improve your representation on LinkedIn and hopefully will get more people looking for you. The first thing is you need to develop your brand. Put your brand up on LinkedIn, what it is that you stand for. And that's what the LinkedIn site should be. The idea being is that people see who you are. And a couple of things. Add a professional headshot of you, the owner of the business. Professional meaning you go to a photographer and spend a little bit of money versus taking your cell phone and taking a picture in your backyard. It makes a difference because, again, people going there are business people and they're looking to find businesses opportunities. They're consumers as well. So if you're in a business that you sell primarily to consumers, make the best appearance that you can. Also make yourself a headliner. You get 120 characters to say who you are, what you do. Don't just put up there, I'm the owner of XYZ, but put something kind of exciting. Have some fun with it. Also, you get 2,000 characters to put a summary of what you are, who you are, what your business does, what your background is, why people should do business with you, why people should want to contact you. Make it worth reading. I mean, part of the SEO search is to LinkedIn will come up if you have the keywords. If you have the keywords that your website uses, they will also pick up LinkedIn. So it's important to take those 2,000 characters. That's the place to tell the world who you are and what your business is all about. Also, go beyond your resume. There's some other things you can do. You've got an opportunity to post videos, which is a big deal out there in the social world today. You get a chance to post photos, PowerPoints, text information, articles. Again, this is part of a general social media strategy. It's not hard to do. And the idea is, and I work with clients all the time, you produce a bit of content. It could be a short article, say 500 words or less, and you post it in a number of places so that that content you took that time to write or have somebody write to you about what your business is about your products, your services, testimonials. Use them in all your social media. Take the time to post them or have someone. This is another area, just like we were talking with Lisa with Alegre HR. I know a lot of people that outsource the social media. They're very small businesses. They don't have the time. They don't have a family member or someone they can engage to do it on a regular, consistent basis. And that is very important, to do it on a consistent basis. In fact, I was working this morning to find a client, a company. There's one right here in the Woodlands area that I referred to them. Courtney Topanini does a great job with her business. And if you want her contact information, then please just email me at rick@IR-Lone-Star. But get your posting up there on LinkedIn, Facebook, and all those areas. Another thing you want to do is to rack up endorsements. Again, this really applies more to the individual, but it also is something you can get endorsements for not only yourself, but for your business. And this is important because think about it, it's testimonials. People like doing business with you. Why wouldn't you want to put that up there? And of course, the cardinal rule, or the second cardinal rule of social media, first being is you get a website up, you get a page on LinkedIn, you get a page on Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. The second cardinal rule is update it. This is not like a billboard that you can buy out on Main Street or the main highway, paint it once, and for years and years and years it's there with the same message. It's important that you update with information once, twice, 3 times a month at the very least. Again, it doesn't have to be a full-time activity, but you need to update, have some information. Make yourself and your business look like an expert. So it's very important. Keep the updates coming, keep yourself fresh, and get out there and use LinkedIn and the other social media to improve your business and make people say, that's where I want to do business. Well, we're going to take a short break here, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, I'm going to offer you a second idea of the day, and that's real success. What does that really mean? So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Pearson & Pearson is a certified public accounting firm located at 400 North Main, Conroe, Texas. The firm was founded in 1989. Our expertise ranges from basic tax to very complex tax, both federal and state, both individual and business, and not-for-profit organizations. We also provide services such as financial audits, reports, and litigation support. Call us at 936-756-2008. That is 936-756-2008. More information can be found online at pearson-pearson.com.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. And thank you for joining us this week. My second idea that I'd like to offer you today that hopefully you can use in your business is determining what real success is. And if you're not following the path of real success for yourself and your business, maybe you'll make an adjustment. And I want to do that with the help of a good friend and a fellow Silver Fox advisor, Al Spinks. Al's a great Silver Fox advisor, a great mentor, and Al focuses on more of what's happening inside of you and how that applies to making you a stronger leader, manager, business developer, and he does a great job at it. And he published an article recently on the Silver Fox Advisor monthly newsletter. And by the way, before I get started, I want to make sure you have information. It's a newsletter I would encourage you to subscribe to. Usually it has 2, maybe 3 articles. They're very short and to the point, but it's published monthly, and you can get a copy free. All you do is go to the silverfox.org website, and you click on newsletter, and you can subscribe. So every month in your email inbox, you'll get a copy of this newsletter, which all the articles are written by Silver Fox Advisors. Well, let's talk about real success. And Al's writing a series of articles. This is the first one. And he talks about success, and I want to talk about that as well. First thing is you got to define it, because I really believe this plays to our expectations. So many times I talk to people who are starting businesses, and I ask them, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? What is about this whole enterprise that's going to be meaningful to you and perhaps to your family? And it's always an interesting discussion because you learn, get a little insight into the person. And I think it's very important that we as individuals determine what success looks like to us, or what it should look like as we build this business, because none of us want to start something and not feel like we made it, that we won, that we got what we wanted. So define that today. If you're already in business and you haven't done that before, give yourself a definition of success. You know, success in Merriam-Webster, as Al says in his article, is the attainment of wealth, favor, or eminence. Any of those will work, I think, but Al goes on to define those. Real success is identifying, attaining, and maintaining the desires of one's heart. And I really think that gets to it. The desires of one heart is a lot better goal, if you will, and one that you can share and meaningful to your family as well. The first step, though, in finding the kind of success that you can identify with the desires of your heart is recognizing what resources you have that are available to you to make it your career, your business, yourself successful. You need to take stock. So many times we start a business and we borrow, invest money. We look at things like that, which are part of our resources, but we don't look any further than that. And the thing to remember that all of us as individuals are intricately put together and created, and we have strengths and we have weaknesses. And you need to determine those before you start the business. It's really important because all of us have an amazing quality of our mind to actually start a business, to work through the issues. We have great durability. Many times people don't feel that they have the strength to do it, but we have it. We just need to learn about it. We need to identify it, and then we need to get up and go use it. It's the specific combination of these resources that are very personal to each of us that will make us unique and also give us the ability to do what we want to do moving forward, again, with career or the business itself. So you need to know what source is for these specific things that make you stronger. You need something to provide you with purpose and direction on how to accomplish and find your success. Al does a great job in his leadership training of helping you look inside, if you will. And I would encourage you to reach out. Again, just go to the silverfox.org website, and you will find there a link to Al's background and contact information. Just click on the advisor tab at the top of the homepage, and you'll see all the advisors, but look for Al Spinks. Al's got a lot to offer and help you get as much as you can out of yourself. It's important that each and every one of us, in my opinion, finds our true success. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of my ideas today. I hope one or both of them are helpful to you and encouraging you in your business. And we're going to take our final break for the day. And when we come back, I'm going to offer you my Silver Fox tip of the week entitled, What Drives Your Employees? So please stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-8255. 3776 with your question. Get seen on TV or YouTube and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Sponsor your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Well, we're here in our final segment of today's show, where I typically offer you a Silver Fox tip of the week. And this week I want to talk about employees. It's fairly appropriate that our guest in the studio earlier today, Lisa McElroy of Alegre HR, we talked obviously about employees and some of the challenges that exist in HR. So I want to talk about employees a little bit and direct my comments particularly to you small business owners. And I'll simply define that as a business that has 100 or less employees. Less means zero, because at some point, if you're growing your business, you're going to hire that first employee. And I think it's important that that you develop your skills on motivating your employees. You know, it's one of those subjects that if you bring a half a dozen or a dozen business leaders together in a room and say, okay, what is it, ladies and gentlemen, that motivates your employees? Not just what you do to motivate them, but what motivates them? What really motivates them? You'll get 6, 10, 12 different answers. And I think it can be a little simpler than that, even though I truly recognize that each business, each personality, meaning the owner's personality and the culture of the business, has some differences. But there's some very basic things out there that you should be hitting if you hit nothing else. In other words, you should have them, so to speak, on your list of things and keep them in mind as you're hiring people, training them, developing them, and want to drive them to be as productive as possible. Because we all know at the end of the day, it's productivity that really counts. And that when we have a stable workforce that's well trained and well motivated, we will have a much higher level of productivity than one that is not. Well, let's talk about what drives your employees. You know, the first thing is, and it's the obvious thing in my opinion, that people are happy. They're happy in their job. And part of that, or a great deal of that, is really up to you, the business owner, the small business owner. You're the one that dictates whether people are going to be happy in their job for the most part. Obviously, people have the right attitude personally when they come to work, but it's up to you to create an environment, to put together the incentives and so on and so forth that give people the opportunity to be happy, to have fun, if you will, in a narrow sense of fun when they come to work. And so what I'm really talking about is that the work, not only how it's done, but the attitude. I had someone the other day want to talk to me, and the main thing it was they were trying to sort out what they wanted to do career-wise. And the biggest thing for them is that I want to work in an environment where people just sort of get together and they get along and they support each other, and we're not just out there as independent people in our own little silos. What she was really saying to me is, I want to work in a place that's happy, so that there's a team concept. And it's really up to you, Mr. and Miss Business Owner, to do that. So make sure your business, if you're getting ready to hire that first employee or already have 65, make sure your business is a happy place to work. The next thing is to remember that all people, generally speaking, want to have an impact. They want to have an impact on themselves, on their family, a positive impact. They want to have an impact in some cases on the world. And you need to be aware of that, so that when they come and work for you, when people are in the work environment and they're working for you, in fact, when you're looking for new people, look for people that want to have an impact, not necessarily on the world, but want to have an impact day to day. They want to take care of their family. They want to take care of themselves. They want to, in a positive way, create something that they can attribute to their effort. And it's very important to allow your employees to have a sustainable impact at work. Okay, yes, it's your business. You started it, but don't keep it all to yourself. Create the opportunity for people to not only get a little pat on the back and an attaboy, but create an opportunity for them to bring, say, ideas to you. Create that kind of atmosphere where people feel like, for the most part, that they are having an impact. The next thing I would encourage you is the area of validation. You've got to give people a chance to say, okay, this is who I am, and I need to feel like this is who I am, and I'm using the resources that I have and the job I have, and I'm being appreciated. Now, this is something like impact, But the fact is that every time you talk to an employee, every time you put out information to the employees, whether it's on the bulletin board or over the loudspeaker, it needs to have a tone, among other things, that it's validating the work they do. The appreciation factor has to be there. And there's, hundreds, if not thousands, of ways to show appreciation. The idea that you give pins for years of service, that's a very simple one that used to be very popular in businesses. But there are other ways, small ways, and that's what I try to focus on in working with my clients, is look for those small ways. They don't have to cost you money or a lot of money, but small ways that you walk around the workplace with a smile, you stop and communicate with people. That's the one that I've had to work on a lot, because I always have things on my mind and I'm always looking busy. And one day somebody says, you have a frown on your face most of the time. Why is that? What are you upset? Are you mad at me? And I said, well, gosh, no, I'm just thinking. And I guess I'm thinking ahead of myself and I'm in deep thought. And gosh, I apologize, because you're doing a wonderful job and we're doing great here as the business right now. We need to change a few things. Got a lot of competition. Have those kind of conversations, but also show that as you walk around. Treat your office staff the same way. Treat your customers, your clients, your vendors. Make people want to do business with you, not just as clients or customers, but also as vendors. And that's another area I think we fall down. But building your employees up, that will send the message to everybody that contacts and touches your business. And last but not least, and this is to me, the fourth one is perhaps the most important. It's talked about the most, but still missed, still misunderstood by a number of business, and that's trust. Your employees must trust you. They must trust the business. Not only they're going to have a job tomorrow, but they're going to be treated fairly. They're going to be paid fairly. Everything about you has to say trust, in my opinion. You have to have the back of the people who work for you. They have to have that feeling. Again, that gets down to walking around. That gets down to comments as you present yourself. Everything has got to be saying directly, or more importantly, I think indirectly, you can trust me. You can trust the place where you work. It's very important. So don't forget trust. Again, one that's talked about a lot, but one that I think many businesses, they just miss it. They just totally miss the idea that they have to have their employees feel like they can trust them. Think about these things, these ideas that I've offered today, and I encourage you, if you have questions about any of them, please email me, Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com, and I'll be glad to have a conversation with you about them and show you the ways that I've worked with people that have been successful. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our final break for today, and when we come back, I'm going to offer the idea of the Silver Fox Advisor Tip of the Week, which I'll kind of touch on that right now to give you a flavor of it. And that was the idea of motivating our employees. And I hope that you've gotten something out of that, and I hope you will join us next week. Put a note on your calendar that you can join us at 11 o'clock Monday morning, and we'll have some great guests lined up for you. And remember, you too can sponsor the weekly business hour at rick@irlonestar.com for details. Look for the podcast of today's show on the weekly business hour page at irlonestar.com and our Facebook page later in the week. Thank you again for joining us. Remember to stay in touch with what's happening in Montgomery County right here on Lone Star Community Radio. Until next week, stay engaged and keep your focus on what counts in your business.